Good morning, everyone. This is Erica with Aurora Heart Healing. Today, I want to do a live healing. That is what I was called to do for the collective. I don't know exactly what we're going to be working on, so I'm just going to let Spirit take over. Spirit take over, and we'll begin. Okay, the first thing is we're going to get a message from the inner workbook from Matt and Ash, the yoga couple. So if you ever want to buy their book, I heavily promote it. Okay. The first thing that is coming up, and of course, I always write everything down, so bear with me as I write down what page number I will be giving you guys. I'll put this all in the description, so if you ever want to check it out, you are more than welcome to. There are two sorts of courage. One is facing the canon, the other is the courage of spiritual conviction. Okay. All right. I kind of weeded out what I would and would not need for this session today. So I am just going to go through and look for the answers that we're needing to find today. We have the will to be alone. And I remember one of my subscribers talking about wanting to dive into this a little bit more. So we get to dive into that a little bit more. Will to be alone. This is going back to me to the origin at this moment, or the original message on the inner workbook. We get to there's two types of courage. There's either facing the canon or our spiritual conviction. And to me, will to be alone a lot of the times comes out of fear that we're going to be hurt. And in that in that page, it talks about conviction, canon or spiritual conviction. In all honesty, both hurt. Either way, there's going to be feelings that arise within us that are going to feel painful or be perceived as painful. So with that being said, will to be alone, a lot of people want to be alone because they feel fearful of what will happen if they were to open up. And both hurt. Being alone hurts, but also being being in relationship does too, in a lot of different ways, because we are teaching each other different aspects of ourselves that we may not fully understand, or we may not fully accept of ourselves as well. So that is will to be alone. We're going to dive into some emotions with this. Is it in the emotion code definitions? This page, this page, this page. Fluster, foggy thinking, forlorn, fret. Fret is the first emotion that we need to look at. A tendency to worry, feel irritable, disturbed, or discontented, suffering emotional wear and tear, feeling troubled, a wasting away with worry that is not productive and usually does not lead to a solution. To fuss over someone or something, impatient or irritable, passive opposition. Fret. So with will to be alone, There been times that you're fretting about things? This one, it talks about feeling disturbed or discontented, um, suffering emotional wear and tear, feeling troubled, wasting away with worry, fussing over something or someone, and being impatient or irritable. I know that sometimes I can be very impatient. So that right there tells me that there is certain things where we can all agree or understand that we do fret over different things. Think about your specific situation. What does the will to be alone mean to you? And what things do you feel irritable about or tend to worry about that causes that feeling that you need to isolate? Because we are creatures of community, of connection. And when we isolate, a lot of times we can go into really dark places when we're not really seeking counsel. We can be left to our own devices. And to me, myself, I actually appreciate a lot the relationships that challenge me to change my mindset or that challenge me to think outside of the box of what I would usually think, because it's important for me in my spiritual growth to be able to be faced with, okay, maybe I'm not always right, and that's okay. I don't think that I want to be always right, because then that means that maybe people aren't actually telling me the truth about myself that are around me. So, in that, being challenged, I appreciate that growth. And being alone doesn't really give me that ability to be challenged in my thinking and my perspective. All right, let's find another emotion. I'm just relating this to how it could be for me, but remember, this is a collective healing, and take what resonates within you and how it can help you release that will to be alone. The next emotion that's coming up is hostility. Okay, I need to know more. Term for this one is an immature person is easily upset and angered by minor delays, disappointments, discourtesy, or hostility in others, or sudden changes in plans. There's a lot of ors in there. A mature individual is able to see molehills as molehills and not mountains. We often grow up feeling guilty about our hostility and try to deny it or don't know how to cope with it. Is there anything else we need to know? Hostility can indicate an underlying feeling of inferiority and or emotional immaturity. Okay. Put the definition in the description below so that you guys have that. Whatever is supposed to be coming out in the definitions are really important for you to connect with in the way that you may be feeling the will to be alone, that hostility. And when it says immature person, an immature person, would like to point out that we as human beings, we evolve at different paces and different ways. And as we are evolving, as we are growing, as we are truly learning how to understand ourselves and others, there are going to be times where we are met with different levels of guidance, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And It can create hostility, but it can also create a sense of growth within each person that is facing whatever it is that they're going through at that point in time with the other individual. So, excuse me. With the hostility, the will to be alone, if we are facing some things that are possibly people are being perceived as immature or not meeting you where you are, it can cause feelings of frustration and anger. And it can be hard to cope with. But one of the things that I've really noticed in not just my practice, but in myself is that I don't always give myself permission to be angry. And that is something that I've been working on lately because anger cannot, it is not always a bad thing. When I think of the Bible, I think Jesus was angry. He was angry when he was in the tabernacle. When people were selling things in the church and he was like, no, this isn't what this is for. And that passionate anger led him to show what he really, the message he wanted to come across. I always think of Martin Luther King with passionate anger as well, because he was angry about the way that he was being treated, his people were being treated, and he stood up. And no, it didn't have to be violent. He actually opposed violence, but it was anger. That anger fueled a whole revolution of change and evolution. And without sometimes other people's opinions or opposing thoughts, it can be really hard for us to face ourselves and be challenged within our thought processes of what else is there, because we're not always right. As much as some people might be annoyed or frustrated about me saying that, we have to admit it. We're not always right. And we don't always have the correct answer. And we don't always make the the choices that are for our highest good, excuse me, or for the highest good of others as well. So, of course, there might be some feelings of hostility, but how do we cope with it is the biggest thing that's important, because that will to be alone, it says, oh, I don't want to open my mind up to someone else's thoughts. I don't want to be challenged within my own thought processes, and that can impede our growth. Okay, I'm going to find another emotion. Is there any other emotions? No. Okay, can we go ahead and release this now? All right, guys. Take a nice deep breath and envision yourself letting go that will to be alone and the fret that comes with that and that hostility. And just swipe a few times. 10 is what I'm getting in my head. So just swipe it out. And let yourself absorb whatever it is that the message, whatever messages sink in the most for you, let those sink in. And know that that will to be alone is being filled with a different awareness and expansion in yourself and a different sense of healing for yourself, because now you don't have to you don't have to want to be alone because you're fretting about things or you feel this hostility. Maybe you can look at it as, okay, this is something that is igniting something within me. What is that ignition within me? What is it that it is telling me? And am I coming at it with maturity? Am I coming at it with an open heart and an open mind, thinking, maybe this is a challenge for my highest good? Because sometimes it is. I definitely have been challenged in my life from my thought processes that I thought I was right. And then out of nowhere, I realized that there were certain things that I was not. living my best life with the choices that I was making. So take that as you grew, you evolved, and then you got to become a different, transformed part of you that you might have loved even more. Because I know I do. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. All right. Have we released? Okay. Is there any other will to, no will to? A, odd row, two, four, first, second, first. Aha. No will to be seen. As I'm saying that, I'm thinking about myself, and I like to share about myself because I think that it really helps you connect to this in your own way. So no will to be seen. I go to the gym pretty much on a daily basis, and it's for me my self-care. I am It's also a vow to myself of commitment to myself. But I also like to go to socialize and to talk to certain people that I've connected with over the time that I've been there. When I walk in, each day is a little different. If I've had a rough day and I'm just like, I just need to disconnect from the world and get my heart pumping and really process some of the things that have gone on during the day, I walk in with my headphones in, my music blasting, and I just very lightly smile here and there, but I book it to the bathroom and then to my stations that I'm going to be working on for the day. On the contrary, when I am feeling just up and alive and good and not really bogged down by anything, not thinking about how much I got to do or any of that, a lot of the times I'll just walk in and say hi and make eye contact with people and let people know, like, hey, I'm approachable. You can talk to me. And what I see very, very often is that a lot of people don't really want to be seen. When I walk in with my headphones, I am giving the signal that I'm not available. I'm closed for business. I am just making my way to what it is that I want to get done and be done with it. But sometimes isn't that will to be alone? It's kind of going back into that will to be alone. Are we facing what it is that we're wanting or needing within our lives, or are we or are we kind of walking away from it? So just it's kind of coming back into the inner workbook, facing the spiritual canon or the real canon. When we are seen, is it scary? Does it induce a fear within us, an anxiety, a frustration? I know that for me, on the days that I don't want to be seen, it's because I don't feel like I should. Like I'm not showing up in the ways that I need to or want to. And it can be tough to think of myself as someone that it's okay to be seen as, that no matter how I'm showing up, I'm going to be embraced. I'm going to look for some emotions with this one. Okay, there's more that we need to know about the will to be seen. There's going to be a book. Okay. Is it in this half? Because I flipped back to 193, not purposely, but through just pendulum scrying for it. There are two sorts of courage. One is facing the canon, the other courage is spiritual conviction. And now I'm going to read this paragraph that is coming up with it. So, as a caveat, as we master each theme of healing, we take with us the benefits and gifts of each theme of consciousness while surrendering its limitations. The next step in healing and enlightenment is always relative to where we are. That's resonating back to what I said in the will to be alone, meeting people where they are. For example, there is a time and a place for self-motivation in order to break free from attachment to complacency and ease. However, when attachment to results of our ambitions become a hindrance to self-acceptance, we have to pivot our approach. What was once our medicine at one point in our journey can become a poison. This is why the inner work is a continuous contemplative. I am so going to be murdering this word. I'll say pensative because that's exactly what this word means, except for I can't say it right now. That's okay. I'm going to write it in the description and then you can make fun of the fact that I couldn't say that. Lifestyle and not a destination because the journey is ever evolving within us. That really does resonate back into sometimes we need to be approached with what we're doing because what has worked in the past does not work anymore. And it can become detrimental or harmful to us. So as we work through all of our hindrances within relationships, not really willing to, not wanting to isolate when we are faced with these challenges, but we actually step into that enlightenment because we are creating relationship, not just with ourselves, but with others as well. And that self-acceptance, I accept the fact that I didn't know that this was harmful to me. There are certain things in my life that I've done, and it's been a repeating pattern until someone has faced me with that pattern. And I've had to really be introspective. I've had to be pensive in my behavior. I have not been able to move forward without that. And it's ever evolving. It can always, we ourselves can change our lives when we decide. No will to be seen. Is there anything else that we need to know about this? Can we release that? No will to be seen. I'm also getting that I need to just say, sometimes we are unwilling to want to see ourselves as human beings. We are unwilling to see what it is that maybe we need to look at. We need to evaluate. We need to reevaluate our fears, our hangups, our frustrations, our hostilities are keeping us from really truly moving forward and becoming who we want to be, who our soul and our spirit calls us to be. Because your soul, your spirit will pull you into different directions. And it is us that hinder. what it is that we need and want in our lives. Usually it is because we think we're not good enough for it. Maybe we think it'll be too hard. Maybe we think that it should come easy and it's actually not going to. Whatever the case may be, when we put ourselves out there, we are risking being seen for who we are as in our entirety. And although it seems kind of scary, it is. I started posting videos 2 years before I actually really started posting videos because I was scared of being seen, of being heard, of being judged. And that was my hangup. That was my fear that was holding me back. But my spirit kept saying, you need to talk to others. You need to share your message. And I was scared from being judged. And now I want to be seen. I want to challenge you to think a little different, think a little outside the box, a little bit different than what you have been can go a long way. You can evolve, you can grow, you can change. So, with me again, take a nice deep breath in. And instead of thinking, I'm releasing no will to be seen, I am no longer afraid to be seen. And repeat that. I am no longer afraid to be seen. I am no longer afraid to be seen. Challenge yourself. If any of that feels icky at all, know that that is the space where you want to and need to heal. I am no longer afraid to be seen. I love everyone watching. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe because that helps me share the messages that I will always be able to or want to be able to share. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.